Thank you for your patience this afternoon. I know we had rain that, I don't read the weather, but I guess it was not expected? Or was it? No. Okay, thank you for having my back on that. So my name's Kalpen Modi. I'm the youth liaison here at the White House, and I just wanted to welcome everyone. I know you've had a full day of events up on the Hill, across town, and now here. We've also been a little busy with the debt ceiling and some other things, as you might imagine. But what we really wanted to focus on, and the reason why we were so glad that Matthew and the Buy Young Initiative and Our Time helped us facilitate this, has to do with particularly what's going on with young adults right now. The unemployment rate, as you know, is far greater than the national average for young people. But despite that, there are incredible success stories and folks that are actually growing the economy. And we wanted to make sure that we focused on that portion of it, especially for the folks at home who are joining via live stream and the folks that you guys brought to the table on their computers with Twitter. So a number of success stories that we'd really like to focus on. We have a lot of them in the room. Hezekiah Griggs III, are you in yet? Still at the gate? All right. So Hezekiah is 22 years old, mentors young entrepreneurs, formed a public-private partnership with Rutgers Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. Folks like Amelia and her wife Erica, you guys here from Lindy and Grundy? All right, not yet. But they've designed an apprenticeship program out in California to grow along with their business. Matt Mullenweg, not only does your stuff power, 50 million websites? 50 million websites, but Matt has also invested in over 20 young startups. And it's those types of stories that whenever the team here, who you'll meet in a second, has a chance to meet with the president, meet with senior administration officials and staffers about what exactly we can do better to grow the economy for young people. These are a lot of the citations that we go through and the things that we're able to share as models of success and what we can do best. So one way that we're doing that is wanting to get rid of the barriers to growth and entrepreneurship. A lot of that is tied in with things like student debt, student loan reform. When healthcare reform was passed, the idea there was to free up a lot more opportunity for young people to be able to take more risks than they would be able to take otherwise. And then there's the aspect of connecting folks. So we're expanding mentorship. When I mention your agency or department, if you guys can come up, we're going to keep this as casual as possible despite the big lights. But the SBA, Deputy Administrator Johns is here. We're going to be taking a look at mentorship in a couple of series of events over the next few months. The Council of Economic Advisors, where's Ronnie? Ronnie, so we've had conversations about things like income-based repayment and student debt that we're looking at. The Import-Export Bank, where's Diane Farrell? Want to come on up? So how can we better assist you all selling your products overseas and exporting them? Connecting people to business resources through the White House Business Council and the Office of Public Engagement, Greg Nelson and Ari Matuziak. And then we've got folks from Startup America, so if you didn't see them on your way in, they're over there in the back behind the curtain, sort of Wizard of Oz styles. And they're going to be trying to collect as many of your stories as possible. They're going to be working with us to kind of help get the word out about how folks started their companies for people that are looking for mentors in the business world, hopefully connecting some of you with some of them. So if you get a chance between now and the breakouts that we have from 6 to 7, why don't you head up and, right? They can just come back there? Yep. All right. So feel free to do that. I think the focus that we want to do, the model that we wanted to follow is sort of the folks up here. We don't want to talk at you a whole lot. We would like to serve as moderators to kind of co-facilitate this conversation and really hear some of the things that you're working on. Most importantly, what can the team up here and the team who we serve and the president, what can we collectively do to continue to help you to succeed? Matthew sent over a statistic about a week and a half ago saying that the people in this room have collectively created over 7,000 jobs, and that is huge. It should be no secret that we want to help you multiply that number exponentially. So I'm going to turn it over to Matthew to make some opening remarks, and then Greg, I'll kick it over to you and Marie Johns, and we can get started. So Matthew, you want to come up?
Great. Aaron, you're here? Terrific. Okay, so for those in the room, am now a familiar face, but for those on live stream, my name is Matthew Siegel, and I'm the co-founder and president of Our Time. And we're very thrilled to be convening the Buy Young initiative today, which is a targeted consumer movement that's encouraging young people to shop at and buy products from companies founded by Americans under 30 or in their early 30s in order to help them grow, create jobs, and profile the narratives of their different businesses. And we have all sorts of companies here today, as Cal mentioned, but when Cal and I first discussed this event, I think it's so critical you're all here and we're all here, because when you look at the faces in the job creation discussion in this country, they're not often young, and they're often the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Obviously, there are many of the legislators we heard from on Capitol Hill today, but I think it's so critical that all of us who have created 7,000 jobs have an opportunity to espouse our opinions and ideas and perspectives, because we are key agents in the economic recovery. So with that said, I want to quickly introduce one featured entrepreneur from a very iconic young company, Living Social. Aaron Battalion is the co-founder and CTO. His company alone has created, and I will let you do the specifics, but I believe it is over 1,000 jobs this past year alone, even more. But I'll let you give the numbers. I'm not a spokesperson for Living Social. But that said, Aaron's going to speak for about 2 to 3 minutes about how they started their company and any advice he has for entrepreneurs listening today on live stream. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell a little story about how we started and some of the lessons we learned along the way. Living Social started in 2007, actually, as a company called Hungry Machine. We were 4 guys that all worked together and decided we wanted to try something on our own, all in our late 20s, and started building business ideas. We didn't know what we needed at the time. We spent about 2 years spinning ideas and trying new things. You know, we reached 1 million users on our products and still weren't happy. We didn't have the revenue we wanted. We went and we got to 10 million users. Still didn't reach the sort of targets that we were hoping for. I read this book early on called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, which says that a startup is not a business, it's the search for a scalable, repeatable business. And I think we kept that core to our vision and kept testing and twisting our model until we found something that worked. We hit 100 million users in the middle of 2009 that had used our products, and no one was really happy. We still haven't found a scalable model that took the $1 million of revenue that we made to 10 million or to 100. How could we do that? What could we find? Middle of that year, we decided to make a gamble. We built an entirely new product, threw all of the users away, spent a week and built a prototype and launched it. Had a few early weeks of testing, felt strongly in the model and saw some early success, and decided we would take our runway as a startup company, the amount of money we had in the bank, from a year to 6 weeks, because we believed in this idea. We've since raised over $600 million, are live in hundreds of cities across the US, and have employed almost 3,000 people in 300 plus cities in 21 countries. I think a big part of that story for us is about being hungry, right? How do you find this idea that's going to work for you? You need to continue to iterate. You need to continue to not be happy with the success that you have. I tell people, if you have an idea for a business, don't go out for dinner that night. Take that money and find 3 logos or 3 names of a company or 3 100-word descriptions and buy 3 ads. And whatever people click on, go build that. If you have a cool idea or you have 2 ideas, don't ask your mom, don't ask your friends, build both, right? Take all this knowledge that you've learned along the way, reinvest that into the next idea, and you will find something that will scale. I think all of that is being that hungry vision that if you wake up in the morning and you're absolutely ecstatic about the thing you want to do that day. And if you're not, you need to find something else to work on. That's been core to our vision, and I think we're not done yet, and that's why the company is still called Hungry Machine. So thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm going to get away from the podium. We've got a mic runner here. I'll serve as the other one. Greg, do you want to start, and we'll kind of do some quick intros of our moderators on stage?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Greg Nelson. I'm the Deputy Director at the Office of Public Engagement, and most of my focus is our work with the business community. So it's a real treat to be here with you guys today, and I'm expecting to learn quite a bit. I spent time last night reading up on all your companies. So you guys have accomplished an incredible amount, and we have a lot to learn from you. So thanks for coming in and spending the time with us. I'm going to ask everybody just to go down and say who they are and kind of the who and the what. So what part of the kind of broader business ecosystem they fit into, and what their agency does to help support the work that you guys are doing. But I want to reemphasize something that Cal said, that by now I imagine you're in hour 6 or 8 of your time here in DC. You probably had the typical DC experience of being talked at for most of that time. So we are going to shut up and try to make this feel like it's a little more of a very large circle that we can have a conversation in, rather than a bunch of us as panelists. So please take us at our word. If somebody asks a question and you guys in the audience or in the rest of the circle have a better answer for it than something that we're giving, please jump right in and do it. We're going to try to lean back and not answer as much as we are going to learn from you guys as we hear in the process. And I know that we've got a bunch of questions we'd like you to try to help us with as well. So take us at our word that we're interested in hearing and learning from you about those questions and some of the vexing challenges we have as a country, and would love to take advantage of that. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic down and ask the rest of our colleagues to give the who and the what, and then I think we're going to literally jump right in to some questions with you guys. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Greg. My name is Ari Matuziak. I'm the Executive Director of the White House Business Council. And I'm thrilled. I have to say, we have part of what we do through the White House Business Council as part of our broader engagement in the administration is to reach out to business leaders around the country. We have traveled the country with senior administration officials, meeting directly with business leaders. Usually they're round tables. They're not more like podiums. So you have to imagine that we're in a round table setting right now. And we have gone to almost 200 communities around the country. And I have to say that I'm probably most excited about this one because it's a great, reading the stories about your companies and what you're trying to do just emphasizes and underscores what we are trying to accomplish as an administration, which is to see the talent and the energy and the creativity of people all across America and make sure that they have a fair shot at building their companies and achieving their dreams. And so the purposes of these conversations, and it really is what we want this to be, is to hear from you your feedback about how we as an administration can be doing more, or in some cases less, to help you grow and succeed. So really looking forward to learning from you today. Appreciate you braving the elements and Washington generally in July. So thank you for coming. You got one.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Farrell. I serve on the board of directors of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. Honest show of hands, with the exception of our vice chair, Wanda Felton, who's in the back. Who's ever heard of the Export-Import Bank of the United States? Awesome. Okay. Good. How many of you have ever used the Export-Import Bank of the United States? Okay, and that's why I'm here. Number one, I have to say, having read all of the descriptions of your companies, you've made me hungry. I am absolutely dying for some chocolate right now. I don't know where the two Brooklyn people are. I feel grossly underdressed reading about so many of you who have expertise in that area, and I am utterly inspired by and awed by what you have done, and have great expectations that you're going to be hugely successful. Very, very briefly, what Ex-Im Bank does is we are a lending bank that will support U.S. businesses. We're all about jobs. Even though our bank is in our title, we're really all about jobs. What we can provide to companies on a short-term basis is working capital. So as your businesses are growing, as you are scoring additional contracts, et cetera, and you need to go back to your bank, and if you're doing this overseas and your bank says, not so sure, I'm confident about, you guys taking on a risk overseas. This is where the full faith and credit of the United States government comes into play. We can provide working capital. We also provide, on a short-term basis, export credit insurance. And that's exactly what it sounds like. For cents on the dollar, you can take out either a single buyer or a multi-buyer policy. And that provides the full faith and credit of the U.S. government in the event that your buyer does not pay you. This also allows you to extend credit terms. If you think about the fact that you've now got those reserves, those finances reserved in the event of default because you got the U.S. government behind you. On a medium term and on a long term basis, if you all get into longer term projects, we also have financing available there, either through insurance, also through direct lending, as well as loan guarantees. But what I try to focus on, especially with new burgeoning companies, is really those two short-term products, working capital and export credit insurance. So with that, know that you have my undying admiration and envy that you are where you are starting out and that you're already such huge successes. And I cannot wait to learn more about your businesses and hopefully provide help where possible when it comes to those services that we offer here with the United States government. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronnie Chatterjee. I'm with the White House Council of Economic Advisors. The Council of Economic Advisors provides the President with economic analysis and insight, and I'm the senior economist that works on entrepreneurship and innovation. So I've been thinking about all of you, even though this is the first time we've met. One of the first things I did when I got to the White House was I helped work on the State of the Union address. If you guys remember, back in January, the President outlined his plan to invest in education, in innovation, in infrastructure, our plan to win the future. In every possible way, the people in this audience are architects of that future. So I'm here to figure out what kind of foundation can we help you build, what tools can we provide to help you build that future. And I look forward to meeting with you all afterwards and keeping in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Marie Johns, the Deputy Administrator at the U.S. Small Business Administration. And the what for me is all about being the voice of small businesses and providing the tools that you need to grow and to create the jobs that our country needs. I came into this role in the administration with a mission to include the support of young entrepreneurs as part of my portfolio and part of what I hope to leave behind during my time at the SBA, because at our agency we talk all the time about the importance of small businesses. You represent half of the economy. Half of Americans working today are working in their own small business or for a small business, and 2 out of every 3 private sector jobs are created by small businesses. So you really are the engine, and not to sound trite, but it is absolutely the truth. As we climb out of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, it's going to be because of what you do in this room, what small businesses do across the country to, as you've heard the President's mantra about the fact that we've got to win the future. It's going to be because of what we do to support you. In a nutshell, what the SBA does is we have a variety of access to capital programs, from microloans to loans in our other programs up to $5 million. We don't do direct lending as Ex-Im Bank, but rather we work through a network of over 600 lending partners around the country, major banks as well as CDFIs and microloan intermediaries in local communities. We also have a variety of government contracting and business development programs, such as 8A program, Hub Zone, women-owned small businesses, and service-disabled veterans. And then finally, we have a nationwide system of counseling and technical assistance that's offered through our resource partners. We counsel over 1 million entrepreneurs a year, and so I am very interested in hearing, for those of you who have had any contact with the SBA, how we can do what we do better, and for those of you who haven't come to see us, we're a new agency, and we're looking forward to meeting your needs because, as I said, you're growing the jobs that we need, and I'm just very excited that you're here. Just one last point. In May, we had a Young Entrepreneurs event, a summit in New York at General Assembly, and I'm so delighted that Inti Ituk and Alexis Maybank are here. They were panelists for that event, and some of you in the room were there as well, and so it's just very gratifying to see that you're back in Washington and we're keeping this very important conversation going. Thank you.
Great. So I think you have a pretty good sense of what we want to get out of this, which is to figure out how to help you guys succeed, and as Aaron said, help more and more of you, of your peers, turn their ideas into businesses and those businesses into success. So we thought we'd start off with a couple questions for you guys to help educate us about what that's going to take. I think we have a good sense of some of the traditional kind of barriers and challenges for the business community, but would love to hear from you guys about some of the particular challenges you're facing. What are some of the barriers that you keep running up against? It doesn't matter whether this is something that's is a barrier that's caused by government or not. Any element that you're seeing that if you could get our support, our convening power, the policy power to help move that barrier out of the way, that you'd love for us to focus on. And then I think second is in sharing with us some of those ideas, talk a bit about where you see how you see the business changing. I often hear from young entrepreneurs that just the way that you approach business is different. One of the things I do is spend a lot of time with the President's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness, which is a set of fairly accomplished Fortune 500 CEOs primarily, and I hear frequently that the type of even the way young business people are approaching the role of business in their communities and the expectations you have for your business is quite a bit different than I think some of the folks from that generation. So I'd love to hear more about that. And is that creating some unique challenges? Are you trying to do some things that are bending the system in a way that it's maybe not built to support in terms of corporate models or the structures you're building within your companies? Over here.
Hang on, let me come over to the mic with you. Everyone can hear you in the room, but just for the live stream.
You can't start talking until Cal gets there. Yeah. That's the rule.
Yeah, you're not allowed.
How you doing? Should I sit, or is this good? Okay, my name's Chris Shura, and I actually have a clothing manufacturing company in which we take recycled textile waste, turn it into fiber, make it into clothing for universities primarily. And the volume is there, and the factors are there. And every time we get a new contract, people are getting hired in regions of the country where we need jobs. The thing that I see would be...
Where are you based?
We're based in Morgantown, West Virginia, but all of our factories are in North Carolina, around the Charlotte area. And the technology is there, the innovation is there for a green product. What I'd love to see is some type of incentive for state-run universities, agencies to purchase made in the United States in green products, because that would be a hugely competitive advantage for our company and other companies that are similar to us in terms of sustainability and creating and doing everything here in the United States rather than overseas.
Congratulations, and it sounds like a phenomenal company. Anyone wants to respond or want to jump in? The other thing we're going to do is rather than the usual response, which all of us could give on a whole host of programs that we think might apply, we could talk here about that. If we have a program that we think is going to match, we're going to take it and throw it up on the board there. That's going to become a follow-up email that will go out to everybody so that you can go ahead and find out about those programs directly and go learn how to apply for them. But it'll also save you the advantage of hearing from us, spending most of the time of just talking about the programs we've got. We'll do that as a way to cut through it. They may have a response to that, either on the panel or other folks have similar echoing ideas around, especially around the textile industry, which I know is one in places like North Carolina that's had a hard time but is rebuilding. Ronnie, you're from North Carolina.
I'm from North Carolina. So first of all, thank you for locating your factories there and employing people in the state. But when you talk to college presidents or other folks about these type of issues, what kinds of responses have you gotten? And also, I should use the mic, sorry. So who at the university do you think is most important when discussing these issues? Who do you need to talk to? What kinds of responses have you got so far? And you think it's more sort of important to organize at the public university level or in a particular state? Or how do you advocate we go about that?
I think at all universities is applicable, mainly state-run universities, since those are dollars coming from the states. The people that we need to engage with are the sustainability directors who are now getting hired on these campuses and the purchasing department, because they don't talk to each other. The president of the university isn't really overseeing the purchasing of materials going into the university, but there's a sustainability director, which is a relatively new position at most universities, that's really focusing on the energy, but not necessarily the products that are consumed, especially at T-shirts. Imagine how many T-shirts are consumed on a college campus a year. It's thousands. So by doing that, you can quantify savings. You can also create a lot of jobs. And so we've been able to see the success in the last 2 years of our business. But I think that if we had those two parties talking together and also some incentives of purchasing things that are made in the United States that are green, it'd really help our volume, which would in turn create even more jobs.
One other suggestion I would make is if it's a state university, then it's probably valuable to talk to the legislators in your state legislature who have responsibility and oversight for the university, because they can have a great deal of influence over some of those kinds of sustainability decisions from a political perspective.
Two things to put on the board. One is green supply chain. We can send you some of the stuff we've been doing on the federal procurement side. That might be another way to help build some customer base. But then second, we've had some conversations with the folks over at the Environmental Protection Agency about pulling together the sustainability directors from all the universities to share with us some of what they're doing. This could be a great way to highlight the connection with the purchasing power. So we'll put those two on there for follow-up. First row here, and then...
Okay, I can hold it. Is that all right? Thank you. My name is NT Etuk. I run a company called Tabula Digita. And my thought or hope would be just to increase communication and make sure that we're all talking the same language, policy people as well as the folks in the room. Is there any way that you could have a forced training program for every member of Congress about what, for example, a developer is? I say
I
it's
know
an
what they are.
inside joke.
They build buildings, right?
Exactly. But it's actually something where, you know, we bring the ideas, or it's difficult for us to figure out how we can communicate with someone who is in government in a policy position if we don't believe that they actually know what it is that we need. And we'd like the ideas to be coming from their direction as well. So the suggestion about going to the legislators, my immediate reaction to that was, I'm not sure they would understand. But I don't want that to be the case. And so if there was a way that that could be done or forced, that would be wonderful.
If I could just comment briefly, NT, on what you said. You're right. Communications really is fundamental to really the paradigm shift that's happening in the economy and the important role that young entrepreneurs are playing. So at the SBA, what we're working diligently to do is to make sure that we have communications channels. And in fact, I should announce our we have a website, sba.gov/young entrepreneurs, and I would encourage you to take a look at what's there, be in touch with us through the community that's built there, because by doing so, then you arm us with information that we need to then take to the policymakers, because we're in regular contact with them in a variety of settings, hearings, et cetera, and so it's always helpful when we can talk about, well, here's what we're hearing from young entrepreneurs, here's what they're saying, and here's what they need from us.
Can I also just jump in on this? I think there's another piece of this. So violating the separation of powers is probably not something we can do in terms of forcing the legislative branch to take a training program, and they probably wouldn't want to come here anyway and take it from us. But don't underestimate your own power, which is to say that there is. The space for education is one that you can fill pretty readily, because there's a lot of interest in in legislative offices and frankly everywhere across government to find constituents who are doing really interesting and exciting things, and the people who are making it happen in their communities are priorities. And so if you can come in and say, look, I'm making something happen, I'm creating value in this community, and here's something that you can and should know about, for the most part, you will have receptive ears. And that is a role that you can play in terms of helping to shift the conversation by doing, it's not always, you don't always walk out of those meetings feeling great or like you move the ball a lot, but collectively it is an important part of the conversation, and it's a way to help build an ecosystem that people are starting to embrace a little bit more, because entrepreneurship is frankly becoming more of a front and center conversation about how we create jobs in this country. So don't underestimate it.
You're in the second room.
Oh, hi, my name is Julie, and I run a natural food company, a dairy company. We make, in Chicago, we make a product called kefir. It's like a yogurt drink, and we're about an 80 million, almost $100 million company. We're on the cusp of 100 million. And I have the desire and think it's the time to go global. And I'm just running into roadblocks of even exporting, forget the financing part of it, just getting into the other countries. Like Canada, I can drive my product across the border to Canada, but they won't let me bring dairy into the country. So yet, my competitor that's made in Canada is able to be on the shelf at Whole Foods in Chicago. So I don't understand why Canadian dairy is allowed in, but U.S. dairy is not allowed to go to Canada. Or India, for example. Like, I want to go to India. I can't go to India. And the countries that I can export to, it costs me $5,000 to ship it, and that's okay. I can swallow that. But then I get taxed over 40% on that product. So by the time my $2 product ends up on the shelf in any other country, it's going to be a $10 product and no one's going to buy it. So then I'm forced to contract with somebody else and give up my recipe and pray that they follow the contract. So that's my problem right now.
Could we go back to explaining to members of Congress how things work? I really think that's easier. Dairy in particular, and you mentioned India, and in fact, it's such a high-level area of interest to U.S. companies that I was on a mission to India in February with Commerce Secretary Locke, where he specifically raised it with any number of ministers that we were meeting with. I believe the president raised it when he was in India in November as well. In the case of India, it has to do with hormones and other additives and Indian government policy. I can't speak for the Canadian policy because I'm not as familiar with it, but this is a real challenge, and you speak to a broader issue when it comes to expanding sales overseas. And I might add, and I meant to add this statistic, by 2020, 95% of the world's middle-class consumers, middle class is defined by U.S. government statistics, will be overseas. The U.S. will only represent 5% of the global middle-class market by 2020. So it's wonderful that you're doing this, and all of you need to think globally as you're building and expanding your businesses. The only thing I can say here is that I will pass along your comments, as will my colleagues, to the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, for example, because they do need to hear these specific cases as they advocate on our behalf. And frankly, we're hopeful, I'll certainly say I'm personally hopeful, that the 3 free trade agreements that are currently pending, that the President has supported, and that we're hoping will be passed by by Congress soon in Panama, in South Korea, as well as in Colombia, will help to bring down some of the barriers to some of these markets to make it a little bit more of a level playing field when it comes to wanting to introduce your product into a foreign market. But we will definitely pass your comments along to the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, and they're a White House agency.
Greg, I promised 3
Yeah.
folks back here.
We're going to go to Cal, and we're going to put on the board commercial service for Commerce, which is an advocacy arm that can help you get your products in. So we'll send you information out about that as well.
So we'll do these 3, and then I'll head back over to the other side.
Thanks. My name is Mike Radpivar. I started a company called Holsti. We design kick-ass products that are sustainably made with a social impact. And
why are you looking at me for approval? I'm into it. I've seen your website.
Where are you based?
We're based in our offices in Dumbo in New York, and so I just wanted to give a little +1 to what my friend from Sustain You said earlier, and that's around like a lot of companies right now that are starting who are creating physical products. They're focusing on making things in a very mindful way, and that means like really considering the materials they use, the way they're made, who makes them. And when you go against competitors who are not taking those things into consideration, it is a really uphill battle. For example, like when we create any product, we make sure that that the packaging around that is 100% biodegradable, and that drives up our costs considerably. But we're doing that because we know what the real cost of not doing that is, and it's not just a monetary cost right now, but it's like a very larger, holistic cost. I think that it would be great if organizations that do that are recognized. And there are some ways that's happening right now through like B Corp, which is slowly getting more and more attention. But if the government, I think, would recognize that and support organizations that are doing that very proactively, I think it would encourage others to do it as well, and it would level the playing field for people who are trying to do the right thing.
Just out of curiosity, who here has heard of B Corp as an option? All right, good. It's a good turnout. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you guys. I just wanted to say thank you guys very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and just personally speak with you all. I'm quite delighted to hear from you guys. This is amazing. This is really wonderful, and a great job to these Our Time people. I mean, really, who would have thought that I would have the opportunity to speak to such wonderful people such as you guys? And I just want to tell you a little bit about our company. We're fabulous in Florida. We operate motor coaches, limousines, town cars, sedans, and we bring people, if they're traveling on the ground, we want them to have that excellent service. We want them to travel in success. But the biggest thing I wanted to ask you guys, which are my dreams for the future, which is mostly the nice lady from Import-Export Bank, and also this wonderful person from SBA, thank you. I want to bring in some people. You know, now the dollar is weak, right? You've heard this, potentially. Okay. So now our Europeans and these people from across the world can travel and visit America. They can visit America for a lot less money of their own dollars. I want to bring these people to America. I want to show them our beautiful sunshine state of Florida. I want to take them across the sweet South and show them New Orleans and Savannah. I want to bring them up to New York and D.C. and show them what America has. Now, my question is, I can do this with the motor coaches, and I'll go and do all the work. I'll pick them up from Australia. I'll get them from New Zealand. We'll get them from the Netherlands, and we'll bring them here and let them spend some money. They're going to eat. They're going to drink. They're going to dine. Just get that money. You just go bring the people over here and bring them back. We need money. We got to pick them up. So my question is, will this import-export bank, is that you mentioned operating money. This is going to be expensive. We can do it. I know we can do it. We can. Right now, I've been in business 7 years. We have about 200 employees. We have the 3 locations, and we're about a $9 million company. I have a lot of faith in that. Also, we need terminals. We need facilities. We need places that these people can stop and eat and dine. We need places to park and wash these motor coaches. So my question for the lady from SBA, are these things that SBA, through a bank like Wells Fargo or another kind of bank, could give us money for? Backed. I promise you I'll pay the money back, and we'll do the work. I just need to get it picked up.
Yes, we can help you. So you promised to pay it back. We got a loan for you. So come see us at the SBA. We've got a district office in your area, and we'd love to talk to you. Seriously.
And I'm very happy to say that we help to sell a lot of Boeing aircraft to foreign airlines. So we'll keep you as busy as we possibly can at your airports.
Can I just make one other comment about that, which is that, the president, first of all, are you all of Florida, or are you just... All right. Well, now we know who to call.
If there's a road, we are there. If there's a road, we're there.
All right.
Also,
all right. And if I'm on that road, I'm in your motor coach. That's the way it's gonna go.
These guys provided the motor coaches for the day to day, which I'd heard about before, but when we were.
Hey. Well, what I wanted to add was that the president has made very clear. Travel to the United States is considered an export, actually, because it's foreign money being spent in the United States. And so the president has made a commitment to doubling exports over the next 5 years, by 2014. And a big part of that is travel and its promotion of travel across the world here in the United States. And so there's an $100 million promotion fund that has been established to do just that, to promote travel to the United States from people around the world. And another part of it that we have taken an active role in and that the president has talked about as a priority is visa reform, to make sure that it's easier for folks to get here so that they can travel, so that they can spend money in the United States, and so they can ride in your wonderful motor coaches. And so that's a big part of, that's more at the macro level, but you put your finger on something which is really important, that there are ways in which we can move capital to the United States and create investments that are going to also help create jobs. And that is one of the front burner ways that we can do that, and that the president of this administration is very committed to.
How do we get the money?
That was how do we get the money?
I didn't hear that, yeah.
I'll definitely follow up with you after we conclude, and we'll get you the money. All right. I'm glad.
Cal, we're still on your 3.
So I think we're the 2 transportation people in the room, so we'll get this out of the way back to back. My name's Jessica Scorpio. I'm one of the founders of Get Around. We are a marketplace for peer-to-peer car sharing. So what that means is if you own a car, which all of you probably do, you can sign it up on our site and you can make money when you're not using it. Cars sit idle 22 hours out of the day, and it's just a depreciating asset. So it makes no sense. While buying cars does serve a purpose and we want people to enjoy them, we are basically putting, on average, $200 back in people's pockets each month. We have tens of thousands of members signed up across the country. We're currently available in California, and we're looking to expand to new cities. So the 2 points of feedback I wanted to bring into this conversation is insurance reform and incentives for car sharing, or more broadly sharing, since I know there's a few other sharing companies in the room. It's a trend called collaborative consumption, and particularly Gen Ys and young entrepreneurs are pretty into it. We think it's going to be a very good thing for the economy, because it's basically creating an economy out of things that otherwise just sit there. So essentially, with my business in particular, but I know also a lot of startups face challenges with insurance. So there's many aspects to this, but some startup companies have trouble getting the basic insurance they need to operate. So that's one challenge. And then with GetAround in particular, we actually, our biggest hurdle to overcome to get to market was insurance. So we basically provide separate insurance during the rental period. And that means there's no risk to the owner because nothing will go on their policy. So we cut a deal with Berkshire Hathaway, and we're very happy to have that. But it's actually the insurance laws in each state that make expansion the biggest problem. And we know that this is a really great service. Everyone who uses it benefits from it. But it's, we can't just go national because the laws are so strict. And it's basically not really, well, a lot of people aren't aware of this new concept and new model. So that's kind of the barrier. Particularly for any of the insurance geeks out there, I don't know. It's basically that there's only 4 states in the country that allow policies that aren't registered. So all the other ones are pretty much missing out. And I'm sure this is a barrier for a lot of other businesses too. In terms of incentives, basically if we're talking about creating livable, walkable cities and neighborhoods, car sharing is really important because each shared car takes 10 cars off the road. People walk more, they take public transit, they're healthier. So there's obviously really good reasons to do this, not to mention it's giving people money and it's good for the environment. So basically incentivizing car sharing and sharing creates strong communities. And incentives could be things like city parking spaces, ability to use certain lanes on the highway, you name it. But I definitely wanted you guys to be aware of sharing and this new concept for car sharing. Thanks so much.
So just a quick comment on that. First of all, I think what's notable about the last few entrepreneurs who have spoken, it's clear to me what makes Gen Y a little bit different than the generations that came before. Each of you don't just want to start a business, you want to change the world. And that is something that's very, very interesting, I think, and new about what's going on here. When you think about the business model you've described, which is using Slack resources that otherwise sit idle and create value, you can see that across a bunch of different business models around the country. So I think that's amazing, and I hope it continues to go well. I'm an insurance geek, so it's good. You have a kindred spirit up here. I'm very familiar with the issue that you're looking at, particularly in the areas of car sharing and Zipcar and other firms that are out there. Let's talk afterwards about some of these state regulations. One of the most interesting things that we've done since we've been here is we had a Startup America tour where we toured around the country, went to 8 different sites, and spoke to entrepreneurs about the regulatory barriers that hurt them from growing their business. It is amazing that some of the things on the books that you would never suspect are actually preventing disruptive business models from taking hold. This could be one example, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about some of the recommendations that you have. Definitely an issue that's been on the radar for the economic team, something that we'll look at. Great.
Let's switch sides of the room. Here in the 4th row, and then we'll go 2nd row, and then up there.
Ezekiah Griggs from the great state of New Jersey.
Yes, wait, we're in New Jersey.
And by the way, I'm not a Christie employee. I have the great honor of being a White House reporter, so I'm going to ask a 3-part question. The first question that I have, that was a joke, I'm sorry, that didn't go well. That didn't go well, I'm getting old. The first question that I have, I think we've had a lot of conversation about capital access in this country. I don't think that we've talked enough about opportunities for minority entrepreneurs, which is a really big situation, particularly blacks and women. And I would like to know what the stance from the administration is to address that concern. Secondly, he announced earlier that I have a private-public partnership with Rutgers, and we're putting $2 million into businesses in the city of Newark. I would like to know what the administration is doing to encourage urban entrepreneurship in urban communities, which is really important to ultimately help to provide jobs in our communities. And then lastly, I come from a great corporate background, and the first question I ask any entrepreneur is what is their thought leadership team? And so what I would like to know is what is the thought leadership team that exists in the White House that provides entrepreneurial value to the policies that you're creating as a collective unit? Who are the people from the entrepreneur community that are helping you to come up with policies that address with this young man brought up there and this young man brought up over there. Who are those people that are contributing to that thought leadership process, and how can we impart wisdom into those people's ears? So that's my three-part question. Thank you.
All right, I'll start. I'm sure others will want to chime in, but great question and gives me an opportunity to talk about some exciting initiatives at the SBA. Regarding the issue of minority business owners, we have just launched an entire new focus on underserved communities, of which communities of color are part. We are looking at how the SBA and across the government we can more effectively support entrepreneurial development and small business growth, job creation among underserved communities. So that's the minority business community, that's women-owned businesses. Many of these are cross-cutting, veteran-owned businesses. But in order to address your third point about thought leadership, one of the initiatives under that underserved banner is that we've just created a new nationwide advisory council, the Council on Underserved Communities. And that council is comprised of 20 individuals across the country, all thought leaders, many of whom are small business owners, who are going to tell the SBA how we can be more effective business partners for them and more effectively serve the needs of their small businesses. The chair of the Council on Underserved Communities is Kathy Hughes, who may be a familiar name to you. She is the founder of TV One and Radio One. Actually, Kathy was a small business, an SBA borrower early in her career, and so she knows our agency, and I'm very excited to be working with her in this important initiative. Urban entrepreneurship. Actually, I was delighted to be part of a team of folks from the administration who came to Newark, to Rutgers. Rutgers hosted the first of the administration's urban entrepreneurship events. Not long ago, Dr. D.T. Ogilvy, who founded the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, was a major, actually she was our host, and it was a great conversation. Russell Simmons was there, and we had an auditorium at the university was packed with urban entrepreneurs, young folks. Many of them were young people as well, and so it was a great start on an important initiative that continues. There are two additional, actually 3 urban entrepreneurship conversations that are scheduled. The next one is going to be in New Orleans. I'm looking for my team, New Orleans, then Atlanta, and we have one coming to New York, and I think Philadelphia is on the list as well. So this is an area where we're very focused because we know it's a great opportunity for us to make sure that we're identifying people who have the desire to start businesses or who have businesses and will continue growing and create the jobs that our cities need. I travel the country regularly. In fact, I was just in Chester, Pennsylvania on Monday as part of another initiative that I think is important for this discussion, Strong Cities, Strong Communities, or SC Squared. There are 6 cities that are the focus of the SC Squared initiative. Chester, Pennsylvania is one, and the SBA is the lead agency in Chester. And the SC Squared formula is to bring the resources of the federal government to bear on communities who have challenges, quite frankly. Either they're communities who are struggling with aging industries or population flight, et cetera, all manner of issues that we know many of our old urban centers are struggling with. But what we're doing in Chester is going to be very exciting, working with the mayor, Mayor Butler, and his team to help them implement the vision and the strategic plan that the mayor has for the city of Chester. So hopefully I've addressed I know just top line. I'd be happy to talk with you later because there's a lot more to share, but those are some of the efforts that we have underway that are directly responding to the important questions that you raised.
If I could just build on that, Marie mentioned the urban entrepreneurship forums that are coming up in New Orleans and Atlanta, and then likely New York and Philadelphia, and that they are really what we learned in the conversation in Newark is that there's a real strong appetite for support for urban entrepreneurship around the country, and Newark is a great example because of Rutgers Center, and we are really looking to take that model on the road and importantly, not just have a one-stop conversation, but really to create relationships with folks on the ground and help to leverage the assets. We have been in a weekly conference call with folks from Rutgers ever since that Urban Entrepreneurship Summit about how to leverage and support what's going on the ground there. And the idea, and I think you'll be seeing more from us in the weeks and months ahead on this, is to figure out the ways to leverage the local resources, the public-private partnerships, and also just the ways in which we can help to be encouraging and supportive and connecting people to our resources and programs. You know, Diane and Marie represent a huge part of this administration's capacity for supporting the business community, and oftentimes when we go to communities, people don't know about those programs. And urban entrepreneurs oftentimes are even a further step removed from those networks, and so we want to make sure that we're bringing them closer to the people who are creating value in those communities.
Okay, we had one other question on this side of the room as well, sir. In the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th row. I thought Cal was making you know.
Coleman. I run a few restaurants in Manhattan, and I want to almost apologize for how my words that I'm about to say might come across. I don't want anybody to sort of take what I'm about to say as a defensive, but I think there's a couple of things that I've been listening to all day, and I think there's some things that I'd like to share with this very esteemed panel right here. There's a lot of food and beverage operators in this room. I've listened to a lot of people that are making chocolates, that run other restaurants, that are making candies, that are butchers. And I hear all day everybody's saying, we're supporting jobs, we've got loans, we're going to guarantee, we want you, we believe in this, everybody in this room, keep making jobs, keep doing what you're doing, we're here to support you. Pardon me, but I think a lot of it, in my experience, is just words. I haven't seen the action, and it's very, very frustrating. I have applied for SBA loans in the past, and I've been rejected. I have tripled the size of my business in the last 18 months. I started with one restaurant 18 months ago, and I had 30 employees. In that time, I've built 2 other restaurants, and we now have 90 employees. I'm looking to build a 4th restaurant, and I'm going to build it in the next 6 months, and we're going to hire another 70 employees. That means in 2.5 years, I'm going to go from 30 people to 160. I've had to do all of this with private capital. I've been fortunate enough, blessed and grateful that there are people out there in this world that have money that believe in me. Great. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about a lot of people that I have heard today in this food and beverage industry say they need money. I've been listening to people talk to Barry Diller about how they need money. I heard people talk to Ed Renzi earlier about how they need money for their businesses. So I would like you guys to take a look at this food and beverage industry that we have in this country is something amazing and beautiful. And there's a lot of talented people here that are basically saying all day they need capital. I don't right now, but I think you guys should really take a look at and find out how you can make that capital more accessible. And the things that I heard when I was rejected by the SBA for my loans for a food and beverage operation was a few things. Well, you need to have a 2-year track record before you can lend any money. Well, how can it be a startup restaurant with a 2-year track record? It was almost like the whole process was redundant, and I was sitting there after 6 months of my bankers coming to me and telling me, hey, come borrow money from us, come borrow money from us. I'm like, why should I borrow? Okay, fine, I'll fill out the application. And then I fill out the application, they're like, oh yeah, no, you don't have the track record. Then the other thing was, oh, your business venture is high risk. Yeah, it's high risk, all right, so then I built 2 successful restaurants. Showed them. All 3 are profitable. Went to them back when they said, please come back. I came back and I said, look, I got 2 profitable restaurants. All the money's in your bank account, Chase. Can I get some money? Can I get some money for the next one? No. Sorry, the next one's new. You maybe could borrow money against the other ones. Well, that's not how I'm operating. They're all separate LLCs. They're all separate companies. They got separate investors. So what I'm saying is there's some flaws in the system, and although everybody's saying we want to create jobs and we want to lend money, we want to help you, I'm not really seeing it.
Thank you.
You know, Gabriel, as I said, I travel the country all the time to talk directly to small businesses, and a lot of what I hear is tough to hear, and I've heard this before. What I will say to you is that, try to put it in some context. I don't know the time frame when you applied for your loans, but within the last 8 months, we have rolled out at least 3 new loan products at the SBA to address the very issues that you're raising, the whole capital crunch. You have to take into consideration, when we came into the agency at the start of this administration, the economy was going over the edge. We are coming out of, as I said earlier, the deepest recession, the deepest trough since the Great Depression. And so what happened, all businesses were hurt by the freeze of credit, and particularly small businesses. And so we were looking at that. As we were seeing the recovery at the SBA, closely watching the numbers, we saw that too many small businesses still weren't able to get access to the credit that they needed. And so we focused on developing new loan products, particularly on 2 ends of the spectrum. There was a huge dearth of capital availability in the $250,000 and lower loans, the smaller dollar loans that many small businesses, many startups need. So we rolled out 2 new loan products to address that, as I said, within the last 6 to 8 months. And we also, through the Small Business Jobs Act that the President signed last fall, which was the most sweeping piece of legislation to support small business development in the country in the last decade, we advocated for an increase in our loan size to $5 million, because we had been hearing from small businesses that many needed a larger loan size for certain types of businesses. So we are aware of the fact that the capital crunch has definitely hurt small businesses, and that's why we have developed new products to address that. And we're also working very hard on the points of access issue. Another initiative that we've undertaken is that we are now working with non-depository lenders. We're bringing new lenders into our network of lending partners, because some of the larger banks still haven't come back the way we think they need to. So we're looking for others. And so we're working with CDFIs, we're working with microloan intermediaries and other lending institutions that we're finding are being very effective lending partners for some of our small businesses. And I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards to find out more specifically how I can be of assistance. Well,
And I just want to say,
like I said, I'm very fortunate, and I'm blessed. I'm more speaking up because I've literally heard at least 6 other people that are, my peers in this industry say today, since we've been meeting at 8:30.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I've heard other people that are doing other businesses, some of the ones that I shouted out earlier. I think you guys please find.
Yeah.
Find
Well, thanks for raising. As I said, it's a critical question.
I'm raising it for everyone.
Thanks for raising it. My email is marie.johns@sba.gov. So for those on whose behalf you're speaking, email me, and I'll make sure I put you in touch with the right person at the SBA.
And I want to just say 2 things, and this also goes to the export issue that was raised earlier. The most important thing that we can have in order to look at specific programs to find out are they working? Is it actually the money actually getting to the ground? Are we helping people? The president wants us to double exports by 2014. How are we helping specific businesses get there? Is for you guys to raise these case studies for us so we can go and take it and actually run to ground what's happening in the program that is either preventing or it isn't working in the way that we wanted it to for these specific businesses. So although you've now been through the very frustrating experience, I'm sure many of you have, of trying to work with a program that at the end of the day didn't work for you, if you can share that with us and give us the specifics behind it, it actually helps us go and figure out how we can help improve those programs directly. So in addition to specifically in SBA, things in exports, any of the other issues we talked about today, we need those specific stories because it helps us be able to go and talk to the rest of the parts of the administration to figure out how we can make it work.
Greg, just logistically, I think we have time for 1, maybe 2 more comments before you have to explain the breakouts.
Okay. And just because we don't get your question here, we're going to have breakouts afterwards for smaller groups, so we'll get a chance to address a lot of them in that market as well. So why don't we do, I think we promised here in the right side, and then we'll go way to the back in the pink shirt in the far back.
Hello, my name is Ginger Johnson, and I'm from Ginger and Liz Color Collection. This is my partner, Liz, and we are a vegan-friendly, toxin-free nail polish line. And we launched just about 1.5 years ago while we were both still working, using our savings, and were able to resign about 6 months ago, actually, just this year. And since we launched, the response has been amazing. Press left and right, celebrities wear our product. We've got we're sold in stores, online. We do a lot of online sales, and we're kind of at a place though where we only are using our own money, and we need an infusion of capital to, like, the demand from national retail outlets is there for our product, but we don't have the money to float to get the inventory. So wondering if SBA, if you guys do anything that along those lines, short-term loans or something that would kind of help us get over the hump because the demand's there, but we don't have the money to produce the product quickly enough.
Great. We will look into what your specific situation is, and so I'll talk to you afterwards. Where are you located, by the way? New York. New York? Okay. Because between our various loan programs, perhaps our SBIC, putting you in touch with one of the funds that we support through our SBIC initiative, that could be a good answer. But not to take time away from the last question, but I'd love to talk with you afterwards. Thanks.
Far back there in the picture. Oh.
Hi, I'm Erica. My wife and I own Lindy and Grindy's Meats in Los Angeles. We're whole animal, sustainable butchers who only work with grass-fed animals. What I really want to talk about is that there's a tremendous shortage of small slaughterhouses which cater to these small farmers, small family farms, and that actually puts a lot of them out of business, and it takes away a lot of jobs from that very incredibly hard-working force. What I'd like to talk about is that we'd be completely willing to work with the USDA to create smaller slaughterhouses which do in fact cater to these local businesses, which in fact will be able to create more jobs in the future. These guys really don't have access to the organic certification from the USDA because it's just becoming so expensive in order to afford. It puts them completely out of business and in fact puts us out of business, people who actually do this kind of small butchering. What we're really trying to do is to make this more accessible to people so that big ag doesn't have control over us the way it does currently.
So Secretary Vilsack is not in the room from USDA, but he has talked a lot about creating supports and mechanisms for small farmers, small industries like what you're talking about, in order to as a direct pipeline to the jobs in communities and for businesses like yours. And so we will happily connect you to some folks over there so that you can weigh in directly and get an audience. It's something that he has talked about, is interested in.
How are we doing on time?
I think if you want to give instructions on the breakouts, and let me just, this is probably the only briefing we've had with so many gadgets plugged in all over the place, which means this is either a really young audience or somebody needs to invest in batteries.
Are there any battery companies here? All right, there we go. We got one. All right, so we're going to try to take, we knew going into this that we just weren't going to have enough time to answer all the questions people have, and also to get a chance to spend as much time with you guys as we wanted in a large group setting. So what we thought was we do the first half in a session like this, and the second half into smaller breakouts, of groups, a dozen or two, with officials here as well as other people from the administration, so we can get a chance to understand your needs better, talk specifically about some of the programs. So when each of you came in, you were given a card. You could find it and pull it out, take a look at it. It has you going to one of 6 different breakout sessions. While you're finding the card, I want to do one other thing. You'd asked a question about brain trust and sort of where the thought leadership around here. In addition to the folks here up front, there's a bunch of other members of the administration who are here, lots of young folks, young entrepreneurs who came into government. So I want to make 2 points. One, Lance Williams, will you wave your hand? Joanna Lyons, Monique Dorsonville, Owen Zadar, somewhere around here. We've got a whole bunch of members of the administration that are here in the room and that you guys should get to know and spend time with. They can help you navigate the I'll call them intricacies of the bureaucracy. But second, and this is going to sound crazy from a room of entrepreneurs, but if you guys or you have friends and colleagues you think would be great in government service or interested, one of the commitments the president has made is trying to bring new voices, especially people with business experience, into government to make sure that we can take that experience, the leadership you guys have already shown, and the entrepreneurial spirit to help reform some of the things that we're doing and make sure that our programs can be more responsive to your work. So once you launch that next business, you file for your IPO, you're done. We want you to come work with us and help us figure out how we can get it done better. Seriously, talk to us about it. We've got lots of neat opportunities throughout the administration. I think you guys would all benefit from, and I know we would as well. So we have 6 breakouts. I'm going to read off where to go meet your breakout group. All of them are organized by the room that you're going to. So when you look at it, it says either EEOB and then a number, We are in the EEOB, so that means it's a room in this building. It's organized by the first floor, second floor is all the hundreds numbers. So if you're in the fourth floor, you're in 430, 430A, 430B, like that. If you're in the wardroom, you're going to follow Cal, and you're going to walk into a separate building where your breakout will be held. So if you're going to EEOB 530, you're going to go over here with Steven. So see Steven? Everybody see Steven? Red tie, sharp guy. All right. If you're going to EEOB 428, where's Sarah? Okay. So right back there, Sarah's going to, don't join her in the bathroom. Please join her in the back in the middle of the room. Yeah. If you're going to the wardroom, you're going to go with Isaiah. Where's Isaiah? All right. Isaiah's in the back corner there. If you're going to EEOB 228, you're going to go with Joanna. So they're in the tan jacket. If you're going to EEOB 430A, you're going to go with Simon. Simon's over here. I think that's where I am, so that's clearly the best one, so you should go there. If you're going to EEOB 430BC, which is Ari, you can either choose to stick around, or, you can go with Emily over here in the door at this side. So the goal of these breakouts is to get to spend some more time with you guys in a smaller session. You've got us and then a number of other people that will be joining you as well. So we hope to get the chance to spend time with you. Thanks, guys.